Fear, Faith, and Future. Interview with Self. I came to the point in the book where I felt it was necessary to go beyond the podcast, Precondition to Fail, which talked about some parts of my upbringing. I came to a point and place in the book where I actually wrote the poem titled The Man Child. It's the 21st century version of the poem. I say that because when it was originally written, I was about battling with some things in life that I had to get counseling for. One thing about counseling, though, it helps to give us a clearer perspective, I believe, on ourselves and on life, having someone neutral to talk to. What I'm about to share in this video, all the things I'm about to share, I hope that these things will encourage, empower, perhaps uplift someone who's feeling that where they're in life, change is not possible. They may desire a better life, a better situation in their life. They feel held back, pushed back, perhaps pulled back by other people. Other people's words, other people's thoughts, other people's ideas being sown into who they are. Because they have not learned how to do what I eventually had to do. Learn how to block out the noise, the voices of those who do not really mean well. As one speaker once said, most people don't care what you got to say no way. Care what you got to say anyway. But if you're listening to and watching this video, then you care about what I have to say. For you've read the book, We Are One, Little Boy Lost, up to this point. This is not rehearsed. It's not a script. The script is my life. It's written out. It's written out over 50 some years of my life. I could have typed it out, but I didn't think it would have the same effect. I could have typed it and got someone else to revise it, read it. It wouldn't have the same effect, I don't think. Because I don't think no one can tell you a story as well as you can. The story that so many people have been able to parlay into crazy, mad streams of income. I throw that out there because that's what happens often when we share our stories. But beyond the money, beyond the financial gain, beyond all of that, stories often help other people to rewrite their stories, to perhaps help other people to live a life they never thought they could live, to be free of some things they thought they would never be free of. Me? My story? Telling it, sharing it, evidently if you get to this point, you don't purchase the book and you know about my story, or you stumble across it on YouTube. My story, I'm going to tell it. I'm telling it in the book, and I'm telling it now as best as I can remember it, because there are different types of trauma I've learned along the way. And each person, and some research says that 70% of people walking have undergone some type of trauma. That means over half of the human population at some point in their life have dealt with some type of traumatic event. Mine, what I encountered, things I grew up with, the things I had to deal with, silently suffer in silence, because there was no one really to talk to, because the ones perpetuating the trauma were the very ones supposed to be my guardian. supposed to be my guardian and my protector, my sister's protector, the protector of others that came through our home. And some may watch this video and buy the book and say, well, Alfred, why are you going so public? Why are you telling this? Because there are so many people out here, especially people of color, that choose not to come forward and tell their story. A story that could perhaps save the life of someone who may be on the edge. Maybe on the edge. As best as I can remember, the same woman who loved us dearly, who provided for the home so greatly, and if she was alive, I would still be telling the story, because there were times I spoke of this while she was alive and I didn't even know she was even living, because people chose not to tell me. And when she died, people chose not to tell me under excuses they could not find me. This same lady who loved me the only way she could, she's in the book, her story, Mrs. Francis' story. Her love was interpreted in what she could do physically, the roof over the head, the food at the table, the stay locked behind the door, little boy, with key. Because the potential dangers on the other side were greater for me if I was on the other side of the door, where so many little girls passed through the home. Some of my family members know the stories better than I do, and they will not talk about them. That's their choice. They say, well, the past is the past, you need to leave it. That's their choice. To feel that way, to believe that way. I have some I can't even talk to because they're still dealing with trauma in their own way. The effects of the mental abuse, the emotional abuse, the physical abuse, the sexual abuse that I've been told actually took place in that home. But then again, how could I verify the physical and the sexual? Because I was a little boy locked behind a wooden door with a key latch inside of door. All I could hear was the words on the outside, the noise, the things I drowned out with my tiny ears, and when the doors were open and I was out, and there was like, you're such a great child and you're such a smart child, became the words often. If I didn't love you, you'd be in a home somewhere, y'all. Your mama don't love you. How can you imagine being told when you're so small that your own mother don't love you, but your own mother is actually running? She's running from her own personal hell in the home. But there's other adults that could have been protectors from the hell of the home, chose to stand by and find their own shelter somewhere, live their own lives somewhere. And there are family members that I met, some it's like, I didn't know because this one is such a great uncle and I love him so dearly, or this one is so awesome because he's so special, and I can't talk about that, y'all. But I was fortunate enough to find a few that will let me know, some that have died and went on, to let me know that the things I imagined was happening were really happening. And I know, as I read and researched and talked to persons and went to therapy myself, that along the way, the things I thought were just jaded memories were actual facts. Like being told, I'm no good on one hand, you're a child of the devil on the other. But here, I got you. Here's how you fix breakfast. Taught me early on how to fix breakfast, my favorite meal of the day. I had to stand on a stool and cook, though I was barely big enough to be at a stove. Yes, she taught me some good skill. I'm talking about my maternal grandmother. Some would say, God rest her soul. I say this, and I said it in the book. It's an honor I would give her, despite the hell she raised me in mentally, the emotional and mental scars. That thing which caused me to have a dissociative memory. So I learned how to block out, control, and adjust outside of the noise. The noise of the words of your mama done love you, she'd be here. The memory of walking behind stroller, was looking for my mother in the same streets that she pushed her into. She loved the only way she knew how, though. The only way she knew how. Early childhood, behind the scenes, wasn't what it seemed to be on the surface. So at the age of 5, I learned to control my tears for my mother. She was not there. I learned when I was homesick, and I would cry out to her, and I learned to block the tears because I was told if she loved you, she would be here. Thankfully, my mom found enough courage, enough strength, at least in the public's eye, to go into the school system and to volunteer, to have enough strength to show love for me in that way and my sister in that way. She showed up when she could, did what she could. She was the best mom, I think, one of the best moms a person can have. I say that because in later life, I get to connect with her. I get to hear her stories. I get to feel her pain. I get to laugh with her. I get to cry with her. I found out she was running, but when she was home, she did the best she could. That was my childhood growing up. And she made sure that as I got older, I had access to some male role models. What are they? Willie Smith. Not Willie Smith, excuse me. Willie O'Neill. Teenage years. Finally got a chance to go to sporting events. And eventually engaged in school activities. I wanted to return home to hear some of the same noise about if she loved you. I'm the only one who cares for you, or you could be here or there. From the shelter of outside to the storm of inside. For the shelter of being with Mr. Willie O'Neill and his taking karate for that year and achieving a yellow belt. I thought, wow. To learn how to play the game of tennis, which I still love but don't play as often as I could. Oh shit. To meeting Mr. Willie Satchel, who taught me the game of tennis. Guys that didn't realize they were actually mentors for me. Mentors, role models. They gave me that courage that when I went back home, that I knew I had some value over here. Self-medicated over here. I didn't realize it was self-medication. In that environment, I also somehow discovered a faith, a crazy faith I latched onto even so early. I don't know where it came from, how it came. I latched onto this faith that there was a power greater than me, that power acknowledged me, loved me, and was there for me. And then I, at some point, came across this little book. Back in those days, it was okay. I think it was, if I remember correctly. I'm telling this as best as I can remember, y'all. Some can check me on it, may challenge me on it. I really don't give a damn. I really don't give a damn. Check me, fact check me, or whatever. It's the best I can remember. It's how I tell the story. Came across this little red book, this little New Testament book that was being given out. And I read in it. I read scriptures about this man who walked in water, who healed the sick, who even resurrected. This man of miracles, this man who had compassion, though they hated him. And somehow my mind connected it to the thought that I'm cared for, and there's a spiritual side, and there's life beyond what I hear, there's love beyond what I hear. Those years I was that little boy lost, who also gravitated to, somehow someone plugged me into the Batman character, who looks nothing like me. This rich white dude in a comic book who got dressed up in this black suit with this yellow bat and this gear, who took his pain and loss and transformed it into a cause of righteousness, righteous justice and form. When he would go out and he would fight the worst of the people. When he would swoop down in the darkest night and bring justice. Justice is not always external, y'all. Sometimes it's internal. He battled his demons of his loss of his parents to become so much more than what he was. And it wasn't even about the money he had, because he could have lived a different life and cruised through life doing what he did. But that's not how the comic book story is written. It's written about a guy who ventured into his darkness. So I gravitated towards that image, that comic book character. But I still today like Batman gear. Because at the end of the day, it wasn't about the money he had as Bruce Wayne, or what he did not have. It wasn't about the loss of his parents. At the end of the day, he was just a man. A man who was a little more broken up inside, but still a man. He was a man child, y'all. At the end of the day, this one so millions of people around the world turn to and praise and worship. I even turn to him. This Jesus Christ, who, as I believe, was God in human form. Or some say a God in human form. Depends on how you believe. That's not even relevant right now. What is the human side? Was a broken side that learned things and grew and battled against all types of darkness. Christ, even in his perfection, had to stand tall under test according to text. Think about it. So, comic book character, biblical character, human being, me, flesh and blood, being fed mental and emotional garbage to keep my self-esteem from rising up to here. Those times, I remember one occasion when I was in school, and this teacher laid her hand, I think her name was Miss Crater, laid her hand above my chest. I want to know why I was beating so fast. I didn't know. Could have been some form of panic attack, as they call it. I don't know. I just know that for some reason, the best I can recall, something was taking place in class, and as we left the class, she could see my tiny heartbeat jumping in my chest. Those days, you didn't talk about certain things, especially in small towns. You would still know. I don't know what the repercussions are going to be behind this, because some may get highly pissed off and want to call me out on it. Again, I don't give a damn. It's my story. It's best I can remember it. It's a story of faith. This is over faith overcoming fear. Believing in something beyond myself, from comic book to Bible, to male role models that I've later encountered. And in the end, as I came into my high school years, y'all, I had to decide what I wanted to do. I thought I was going in the Navy. Smart enough, talented enough, book smart enough, but that fear thing was still attached to me. So when I was presented to opportunity, and I considered it an opportunity to study the Bible, Jehovah's Witnesses. But knowing that, wow, they ostracized, but yet they're together, they're tight. And I was placed under the teaching guidance of two young men who studied one of their their organization's church primary books, The Truth That Leads to Eternal Life. I made a choice because they don't believe in serving in the military to not serve in the military. Flip side of that, though, it played right into what was happening in the house. It was already been planted in my brain. That low self-esteem, that you're never good enough, so you need something else to make you better. Besides, the Bible says the world, the system is coming to an end real soon, so whatever I was fighting secretly, it'll be dealt with. This will be gone. And I will be part of this new world arrangement of things. And it was a good life, y'all. Some people may say it's a cult, and that's the area I'm going to touch on now that's going to piss some more folks off. Every Christian religion, whether from Baptist to Jehovah's Witness, to every denomination seems to find a way to find fault with another and label it. But here's the common denominator. Everyone believes in Jesus Christ in some form. And God is by some name. People say it, but they don't like hearing it because it bothers them that there may be a common thread in all types of religion. When it comes to the major three, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. That's one good thing about that life. I learned about religions of the earth. I learned about the foundations of religion. I learned about history of religion, the church history of Islam, history of Judaism. I learned where the dots connect and crisscross, and how over time there's been different systems created of approaching God. At some point, some of you may say, well, I can't listen to him no more because he no longer practices as we practice and believe as we believe. I've had someone tell me that once. That was like a mother figure to me. That I need to come back home 100% to the organization. Here's the thing. That's the same thing others have said. Like the black man who told me, a former coworker told me, he found out I was attending a church with a white pastor. He told me I need to come back to my people. To which I asked him, well, what color is God? Does not John 4:24 say that God is a spirit? You must worship him with spirit and truth. Therefore, he has no color. And though he acknowledged that Jesus was God in God's form, he was of the Jewish race. He wasn't a white guy like Michelangelo painted. He's a brown skinned guy that looks like me and other people of color. In case y'all don't want to acknowledge that, y'all, some of y'all. Especially some of you people who walk around pushing racism in the form of, this is what God was like. I learned. In the Born of the Man Child, I talked about I listened, I learned, I watched. That's one of Jehovah's Witnesses. I listened, I learned, I watched. That I cannot hate. I learned finally that I cannot hate or label another form of Christianity as less than who I am. I learned this for myself outside of the organizational teaching. I finally came to terms with that because I had been labeled. I had multiple labels growing up, remember? Remember my grandmother's mat, her difference. She protected me for whatever reason, for some of the physical and other scars. I can recall being punched once, pushed once. Other was all the noise, the arguing, the talk, when it should have been silent at night, it wasn't silent. But I wasn't allowed to come outside the door, so I could never see. And it's faith I learned by other faiths. I stepped out and I looked at other faiths. And I do not regret letting years go by and not pursuing the military career. I'm very thankful for the life I led, the family life I had, the amazing woman I was married to for 20-some years. The way she was a great mother, still is a great mother. I will not name her in this video. Those who know me know who she is. The one who loved me through my darkness, my night sweats, my night terrors, my panic attacks, the other scars, the other noise. The one that knew my story, that stood by me. The one who mothered and still mothers our sons, mothers our grandchild. Soon to be, when this video goes live, our grandchildren. Awesome woman. The woman who walked with me during those good years, those great years, where I had some of the best mentors ever. Men mentoring me as a young man that knew about some of my issues, and outside of those ones I met early who did not really want to care because they wanted me to become what they were, worship as they did, and when they moved away they left, which I found to be common thread. If you leave one place of worship, go to another. Those who say they love you, you may have phone numbers and everything, y'all, but guess what? They probably will not call you unless you flow in some other circle with them. Hang out with you. That's one thing about this thing called organized religion. The best of friends are those who stand by you. When you're part of what they do, as they do it. Just like in my grandmother's house. Play by her rules. Believe her lies. Walk in that thing where you feel you need her. She's the only one who loves you because no one else does. If the world's against us, say you're safe. I chose to be more like the bad man. I found the courage to grow in the wisdom of those who befriended me for real in the faith in my 20s. Now moving into my 20s, time period when I got married with this amazing woman who eventually became my amazing wife, came into play. And I will name these men that were there. These men who, of the Jehovah's Witness faith, who were there. But first I'm going to name my stepfather, who is mentioned in the poem, in the book, that you will read, hopefully after watching this video. My stepdad, my mom's first husband, he taught me life skills. He was a weekend alcoholic. The poem talks about that. But he taught me things that sperm donor dad never have and never will teach me. His oldest son, because he has other children, and when I try to reach out to him, he's always in church. I laugh because he's always in church. Okay, Christian man. I've probably spent 6 hours, that much, with this sperm donor guy who calls himself my dad. My real dad, my stepdad. This can piss some people off too that may watch this video. But I don't give a damn. Because Howard Corey, my mom's first husband, he taught me work ethics. He gave me structure about how your man gets up and he goes when he don't feel like going. A man works when he don't feel like working sometimes. A man does what he takes care of his home in spite of his habits. Think about it. A man takes care of his home in spite of his habits. He drank heavily on weekends, but my mom never lacked for a single thing as far as a roof over her head, food, clothing. She never lacked for a garden being space at the home because he made sure she had space to do what she loved to do. He lived long enough to hold my firstborn son in his arms. In his arms, to look in his eyes. This man became a father to me. I didn't talk about some of the things I'm talking about now because he already knew the pain. He knew some of the backstories. He just loved on me and laughed with me and shared stories with me. The other men, sorry y'all, this is just straight up. I let you leave and get tissue, and I let you get some. They are role models, spiritual mentors. Louis Murray, he's dead and gone. I don't know where he's buried at. Over the years I heard the word that he finally passed on. He was a watchdog, y'all, in our organization that Kingdom Hall I was associated with in Windsor, North Carolina. Belle Haven, North Carolina. He was a watchdog. He watched over us young guys, us guys from Windsor, the boys from Windsor. There was so many of us younger guys there that really were friends that to this day, one of them is still my friend. If I see the others, yeah, we lost some along the way, but we were tight. It wasn't like the first one that I encountered who taught me this book. This book that got me into the faith and then bounced. These are real road dogs. These were ones who are all about uncoordination. We could laugh, joke, dance, play around. When the first VCR came out, for those of us who remember what a VCR was, we had good times. These are the ones that I chose to be in our wedding parties. These were the boys from Windsor and under Louis Murray. We walked a fairly straight and narrow line most of the time. We're fine, and some would say fine spiritual young men. Then when family moved away, my son was born and we moved away to Elizabeth City. The same spiritual guide, mentor that married my wife and I, David King. Fairly tall in stature. Straight, loved his wife and kids. Awesome biblical teacher. He cut corners and shared with me as a young husband, even when I didn't agree with some of the stuff he had to say. So the one that became really like a father to me, William Turner. I could disagree on some doctrinal stuff, he still would show up. Right there, mano a mano. Or he'll say like, come on to my house and we sit and drink a cup of coffee together and talk about it, son. Daniel Sturdivant, another one who learned how to read and write to embrace the faith. Did cut corners, fiery pistol of a minister. Like a father figure. Excuse me, y'all. Fighting tears and the allergies. This man, last I heard, is still going in the ministry as witnesses do it. Talking, preaching, loving, getting it done. This man, it's a privilege to call him friend. There's a host of others. But these spiritual giants, who love me through my scars, who still speak of me today when time arises and I get word they spoke and ask about me. I dare not lead about my father-in-law of all those years, James Board, Big Red they called him. One of the kindest, gentlest men I knew. Played with his grandson. Embraced his son-in-law as a son. Through some of my darkness, I went through that marriage and things just kind of falling apart. Before they finally fell apart. When he was alive, he was there. My mother-in-law, who is still going. It's Evelyn Boyd. Spiritual giant. So when I say you can't, I choose not to. Not dare you continue, if you're doing it, to judge other religions and label them as something less than what you are. You may be missing out on an encounter with a spiritual giant. Because everyone that says they have faith and acknowledge God and walk in that line, some of the very ones are not of your denomination, your belief system. Don't block your blessing by putting yourself in a freaking box. These times we're living in now, these times of increased racial tension, these times of increased religious divide, these times, they've come before, but they're now. But it seems like there's a target on every black man's back, and we don't have, and Batman coming in from the night skies to save us. But some cop has his knee on one of our necks, and we saying we can't breathe, and we're calling out for our mama. There's no dark night coming to save us. These times calling for us to stand up and save ourselves. And if we've been through some trauma, overcome it, deal with it, and tell your story. Because any one of us can become a statistic, and that part will be addressed, has been addressed in the book, will be addressed again in the book. Because those who hide behind the all lives matter shit better do a double take, because for 400 freaking years, people like me have been subjected in the home and outside the home to all sorts of BS, traumatic stuff, simply because of what we look like and our ability to think for ourselves and our desire to be treated as a human as the next person. All trauma doesn't come from the inside, it comes also from the outside, and we seem to be living in a time where all hell seems to be breaking loose again. And this video and this book's being done during the time of the pandemic. And that's why I go back to the sub-points of this video. Fear, faith, future. My fear said, do not do this. It should have been done almost a month ago. This is July. I should have recorded this video back in May or June. Fear took over me. So now today, almost 6 p.m. on July 6th, I'm doing this video. It will not go live for a while, so by the time you see it, it'll be the Sunday long gone. But it has to be in the book, because you cannot let fear, because it's generated by some past event, hold you back. That faith thing, however you choose to believe, that hope in that thing which is not seen, that you must see it as it is seen, as if it is a reality. Step into it, because once you step into that faith, regardless of how you believe, like the Batman swooping down out of the night, like Jesus before his execution, they like the fancy word crucifixion, that execution, said he would return, like that Batman that swoops down out of the night and takes a beating from somebody that's some of his worst enemies, and they leave him for dead, yet he rises again, like that Christ who rose again. You better as heck have some type of faith, that internal energy, that strength, that intestinal fortitude, that whatever it is, dig within yourself and find out that thing that kept you going during your darkest moments, and I challenge you to rise on that faith, and then you will find yourself with a future unlike you could ever believe. And now I'm recording this from my bedroom, and according to this camera thing, the lighting is not the best, but I don't really care, because it's me telling my story with what I have, because the story has to be told at this point in the book, because I'm on my 40th year out of high school. And I promised myself that this year will be a year of change. This year will be a year of financial gain, financial stability. This year started out as a year of spiritual stability. I found myself in an amazing place of worship with an amazing spiritual leader overall, Brian Pierce. The information is on the back of the book. That's all I'm going to say about that. I walked in and I saw some people I've been knowing for years, some men folk I can call brother, friend. This has been a year of change. I'm not getting from any prompts or payment for this book, but I suggest you get this book. It's been one of the most powerful books I've read so far this year. Think Unbroken. Think Unbroken. As well as plug into reading something every day. Read a devotional or read something positive, encouraging. Because it's taken me this long to go from the age of 5 learning how to cry very easily. It's taken me this long to get to where I'm at. The journey through pain, trauma, frustration, failure, it's an ongoing journey. The journey through being able to gloss over pain, trauma, failure, it's an ongoing process. The ability to tap into the past and let it be the fuel for your future is part of the process. Some people say, I don't do drama, and I don't talk about this, and I don't talk about that, and the Lord is good, His grace and mercy is sufficient for me. I want to do a reality check, y'all. Do a reality check. Remember, the same Lord you pray to, the same one who say you too blessed to be stressed by following it, the same one who says gives you a drama-free life. There was one of the most dramatic lives ever. Found himself in as a young boy in a temple before older men questioning him, religious leaders, and he spoke out of wisdom that they didn't understand. But his most faithful friend said, I will never deny you. He told him, yes, you will. But he also knew that friend will return. Become a more powerful friend, closer friend than he ever had been. We know him as Apostle Peter, y'all. So as we move, as we go through this thing, and this is laced with scripture and biblical stuff, you know what? But regardless of what your belief system is, so be it. It's about the lesson of not letting your fear interfere with your faith so that you can have the future you desire, regardless of where you've been, what you've been through, what's been done to you. Because what's been done to you is not as good as what you can do for you. What's been done to you is not as great as what you can do for you. If I can have a great marriage for the better part of 20 some years and not break and fold and crumble to the darkness until later, my 40s, and have the same woman and children love on me through my madness, not literal madness, but through that thing where I became someone totally different, that wanted so selfish and self-centered, and I became my grandmother's child. Like that poem talks about in the book. To receive, not because of something I have done, but to receive that love, that covering, that protectiveness, that mercy that I walked in ritualistically, to receive it now freely. In a belief system, in a belief system that says that no matter what happens to me, I have a Father that has never deserted me. Whether you call him Jehovah, or you call him Jesus Christ, whether you call him Allah, there's a God. Whether you call him Yahweh, there's a God. And some would say he doesn't exist. That's your choice. But the creation speaks loudly that there is a source of energy and power far beyond us that has set things in motion to make sure that we are cared for. For the sun rises and sets every day. Storms come and go, and the earth repairs itself again and again and again. Our bodies get wounded and they heal. Because of our imperfect nature, we eventually die. But we get cut and we bleed, we heal. And even with this pandemic that we're undergoing, people are losing their lives. People are also healing. Trauma, traumatic events. You and I are much better than those things. We have examples all around us in flesh, and we choose to see those examples. Open our mouths and speak. And cry out for help, however we need to cry out for help. Because in essence, all of us have been preconditioned to fail because when you get down to the core of things, nobody likes losing, y'all. No one likes hitting a home run. No one likes taking a test and failing it. None of us. We all love victory. A victory comes at a price of addressing your fear, walking in faith, and creating or recreating your future. And remembering is not what you've been through, what's been done to you, it's what you can do to alter the trajectory of where you're going, to let your words affect, better yet, let your words infect you to affect your trajectory future. Are things all the way I want them to be right now? No. Have I got my new apartment yet? No. Have I been doing the dating thing? Yes. And I bring that up real quick because by the time this goes live, I may be in a relationship again. I don't know. But the dating life has been affected by this COVID-19. Life, all of us, everything in our lives has been affected by this thing. But if you choose to see the best of this pandemic age we're dealing with now, like you choose to see the best through the trauma you've been through, whether it's emotional, mental, physical, spiritual, whether you allowed it or whether it was beyond your control. Well, it's always beyond your control at the moment, anyway. My control too. Somehow you learn to address it in some form. Like during this pandemic, like dating and trying to find a good relationship, or being in a good, healthy relationship. All these things require the same thing I've been talking about: addressing the fear, combating it with the faith, and creating your future. When I first chose the name "Life is About More Than Living" my podcast, it was such an awkward name, and some people don't applauded me on that name. For life is truly about more than just living. It's truly about more than just living. Life is about more than living. Your faith becomes more powerful than your fear. And no matter what you've been through, you choose to create the future you want.